End of day 2 at Lucca here in the apartment where the Narrativa crowd is staying. And at the end of the second day, most of us are completely out on our feet, having gone full speed ahead in all kinds of ways, beginning with a fascinating and unprecedented car breakdown of a car that had just been fully serviced the week before. So that happened the day before the con. And then moving through, if not, troubled production, disastrous restaurant, movie levels, at least a kind of high maintenance level of little things up and down and down and up. But today, the booth is spiff, and today, the sales apparently were very, very good yesterday and really remarkable today. And those are the slow days, the pre-weekend days. So it's looking kind of financially boomy, which is great. And we have all manner of other things. I was able finally to get to the open indie play space, Indie Palace. I guess it's in a palace named hotel in the old town. And so I was able to talk to lots of people and play some games. And among them was a draft sent by a friend who wanted me to look over the game called Blood Red Blossoms, which is very much the travelers traveling about, making themselves irritating or welcome to the locals and coping with hassles. And it is a way of playing which we've seen in tons and tons of games, notable in this case for a certain ruthlessness, in that unlike a great deal of the kind of we all get along and we play as nice, this makes Circle of Hands look kind of gentle in terms of the system being based almost entirely on how to threaten and sometimes achieve dreadful, dreadful things for player characters. And it actually kind of fascinated me in how ready the game is to say, all right, there's setup, all right, there's secrets or metaphysical problems and all sorts of the sort of standard-esque things that one might expect in, say, Troll Babe or Dogs in the Vineyard, or name it, tons and tons. And in this case, what is it about? It's just about how badly scarred or what sort of grief is there for your character and how much fate you can dodge on the way of doing a thing and how much you can't. So anyway, Blood Red Blossoms, I have to admit, I found it kind of well named. So that was, halfway into reading it, I was thinking, oh man, okay, they're gentle pilgrims. They're traveling from place to place in medieval Japan, and there's going to be, problems and so on. And, kind of the, oh no. Then you limp away, leaving, one bloody footprint from one of your feet, as you limp off from the adventure, kind of if you're lucky. So quite something in that regard. And then we've got the publication of B-Movie, which, as you will recall, or if you're interested, can go check out in the consulting section here. We have, I didn't get to play that, but I got a copy. And then we have the, remember in the audio for that, there was all this business about there's this instrument that you're supposed to use to, pull the film strip through the little slot, and lo and behold, here it is. You've got the little instrument, and you cut out the little track, and you've got the apertura there that you slide it through, and you've got this nice little film strip mechanism of pacing, which, as you may recall from those, was surprisingly sophisticated for something with a very few simple rules in terms of developing and framing exactly what on earth you're talking about with all this free play, say what you want thing. Anyway, a lot more structure and emergent structure in there than I definitely expected at my first contact with the game. So anyway, it's kind of cool to have that, and it's kind of cool to have the little widget that goes with it, and I'm all for it. Well, let's see then. We're also looking at Quella Volta K, which is, well, bluntly, it's a game with the topic of sexual harassment written in what can only be described as an emotionally, utterly fearless fashion. In fact, it's probably one of the most fearless games I've come across, and everything that may have made you groan, perhaps, at the mention of a role playing game with any such messaging or awareness building or anything like that, rest assured there is nothing that corresponds with the source of any of those groans. This is a game that explodes all of that and does it, I think, particularly well. Which leads to what may be the coolest or the most funnest or the thing that I found the most affirming, if I say so myself, plus exciting. Well, you may recall from my discussion with Keenan Kubrick over in seminar about safe spaces, maybe even the title made you avoid that conversation, which I hope it didn't, but it was a matter of grave, grave doubt and fear that I admitted or broached the topic or revealed to the light in that conversation that I really think the X card is a negative instrument, that at best it is blunt and crude, and that I didn't favor it. I didn't think that it was where you went for finding safe spaces. And we talked a lot. In fact, Keenan kind of amazed me with the use of lines and veils that he said opened the ability to address the harder things or to enter into them emotionally in a very effective way, rather than just shut everything down. And I did not expect that response from Keenan. I was amazed that anybody would agree with me with what is clearly a widely embraced textual feature of so many games. Well, little did I know that there is, from people who I think would very rightly qualify as those perceived as being protected by such things, but the voices from those sectors are savagely critical of the X card, to an extent that I had not even entered upon. Terms like silencing and brutal and even violent, that the use of the X card was actually a violent act at the table. And it was a remarkable outcry. I actually really want to have a seminar on that topic now that I know that the views in question are uncompromising, informed, and also backed by very, very concrete play and design, especially with this game. And again, another game that goes with that, and in fact developed some of the techniques that were seen in this one a little bit later. The game in development is actually called Stonewall, and it is built much. It's not really, skinning Spione, but it partakes of many of the aspects of that and Shahida, and has that same kind of all right, we're going to learn some history, and it's all kinds of controversial history where all sorts of narratives were broken and all sorts of narratives were created, and we have our modern narrative, what must have happened, and many things of that kind, different fictional treatments, some of which the author considers honest and some dishonest. So here's the game. Here's the book with the game in it, and get ready, because it is not also emotionally compromising or sentimental. So I find the whole thing, celebratory, but not sentimental. Right? I find the whole thing really, really inspiring. This was a day of both idea-wise, design-wise, game vision-wise, to be, and also experientially playing Quellavolta K, the term they use around here is bleed. There's a lot of bleed, and I felt a lot of bleed in the game, and this whole thing where your own emotions are kind of churning or hit, or things where you and the game are being challenged simultaneously. And, buzzword or not, today was a hell of a good day for the bleed.